All right, class, we're back here with episode 2. This is about the money market model. I call it the triple M. I'm not sure if that's a thing, but it focuses on the interaction of demand and supply for money and how that determines the short-term nominal interest rate. So this is pretty much just like any other equilibrium we find in economics. Most of the time we use money or price as the measure for equilibrium, but in this situation, we're measuring the equilibrium is going to be nominal interest rate, which is actually pretty cool. And it helps us determine a little bit about how saving and prices affect the overall market for money. That's why it's called the money market model in society or in the economy that we're studying. So yeah, we'll go ahead and go into an example here pretty quickly. All right, welcome back to Gainerville. I hope you got your visa stamped. So this is going to be an example here of a made-up city. So the governor of the Bank of Gainerville, so kind of like the head of Gainerville's bank, or the central bank, is Sir Yandel. And Sir Yandel has the power here to adjust the money supply curve. Money supply curve is straight up and down here, noted by MS1. And MS1 is the amount of money that's in the market. So that's going to be $50 for the sake of this. But now let's say, for example, Sir Yandel votes and the government decides to increase the amount of money in the market. So that's going to be, they're going to go to $70 now. And, oh shoot, it's upside down. Okay, so now that it's at $70, it's going to have a new equilibrium point, which is going to be here. Instead of here at 1.7, it's going to be at 1.3%. So that's going to be on its own by the bank lowering or increasing the quantity of money in the market, the money supply. It intersects lower with demand, downward sloping demand curve for money, and it puts the interest rate at 1.3. So that's the power of the central bank has to hopefully increase or decrease spending and saving for the market. And so that same thing can be applied the other way. If they lower the quantity of money in the market, they're going to intersect higher with the downward sloping demand curve for money, and that's going to intersect at, like, say, for example, 2.3%. So that's pretty cool in the fact that that's what the power of the central bank does. And so that's why it's important that they regulate and monitor the well-being of the economy so they can adjust inflation rates to increase spending or borrowing or lending in the market for stimulating the economy or regulating it so that it maintains health and doesn't get burnt out, or on the flip side, crash because of poor saving or spending behaviors of both the individual and also of the central bank. The last segment of the video is the downward sloping demand curve of money. And so this is affected by, it's mentioned two of the largest variables that affect this is A, the real GDP, and B, the price level. So these have, in essence, some relation to each other, but also they're different on its own. So an increase in real GDP means that the amount of buying and selling of goods will increase. So they'll need more money to conduct more transactions. So when real GDP goes up, so say, for example, like people need to buy way more potatoes and food for their families because the population is growing, the real GDP is going to grow. There's going to need to be more money. So the downward sloping demand for money is going to shift out to the right. There's going to be more spending in the economy on a real scale. So it's going to be scaled for the price here. But also, it can in a recession, it can shift in. So like when people are spending less money, it's also going to go in. And so this establishes a new equilibrium with the money supply curve. So say, for example, Sir Yandel doesn't change the money supply curve. It'll change here to set a new equilibrium at this point, wherever it intersects with the new money supply. So that's how the demand of money is changed by the real GDP, but also the same thing happens for price level. So it'll shift as prices get more expensive to the left, and as deflation occurs, it'll shrink to the right. So that's how we see, like, for example, something 100 years ago cost 20 times more. That's why it requires more money to go and buy groceries today than it did 20 years ago. That's because the demand for money is increased. So it's going to increase out here and setting a new money supply curve. So to combat that, the central bank might shift out the quantity of money so that it still meets that 1.7 initial equilibrium, or it can raise the nominal interest rate and kind of encourage more saving in the economy, setting a new equilibrium up higher. So that's how it shifted, is mostly because of real GDP and the price level. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. This video is super important for the MMM, the money market model. And as we learn about the importance of money and the rates of saving, and also the health of the economy, this is a big deal. So I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something, and please see the next photo for citations of some information I used.